In today's video, we're going to look at some of the hidden signs that the guy you're dating might secretly be hiding some misogynistic tendencies. Now, when you're dating a guy you're really into, it's normal to overlook a couple of things. After all, none of us are completely perfect. Misogyny is a little bit different though, especially if it's deep-rooted. These guys might not even realize that there are any problems with the beliefs and attitudes that they're holding. So by the end of this video, you're going to be able to spot some of the hidden signs that you might be dating a secret misogynist, why these signs are a problem, and what you can do about it. Unfortunately, the answer to that isn't always very much. As always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss any other great videos to help you find the fantastic, happy, healthy relationship that you deserve. So why is it a problem if the guy you're dating is a secret misogynist? Let's start out by working out what a misogynist is. A misogynist is defined as a person who dislikes, despises, or is strongly prejudiced against women. Typically, they believe that women are fundamentally weaker, both physically and emotionally. They think we're less rational, less intelligent, less moral, and at a core, unable to make good decisions for ourselves or for others. So how can you possibly have a healthy, equal relationship with someone who believes that you are automatically less than them simply because of your gender? The answer, obviously but unfortunately, is that you can't. Now, not every guy with misogynistic tendencies is at this far end of the spectrum. Lots of them will have a few deep-seated beliefs that they might not even realize are misogynistic, but it's important that you do. So let's get started. So the first sign is that he talks about women's physical attributes more than he does their thoughts or their opinions. Now, okay, I know. Some guys, and more than a few women, are just automatically drawn to a great figure. And that includes great breasts or amazing legs or whatever it is that does it for you. The truth is that we all notice whether someone's physically attractive or not. And that goes irrespective of our gender or our sexuality. We see bodies before we see someone's personalities because we haven't had the chance to get to know them yet. And that's fine as far as it goes. The problem here comes when this becomes the focus of someone's entire conversation or how you evaluate someone else. So think about how he speaks about his colleagues. Does he talk about a female co-worker's ideas or how hard they've been working or even the fact that they brought cookies? Or does he tell you about her dress sense or her body size? And why would you want to know that? Why would you need to know that? Now, this is especially worrying when he tries to use a woman's appearance to denigrate her thoughts and opinions. To give you an example, I recently posted a video about Andrew Tate. I knew when I posted it that his fans weren't going to like what I had to say, and that despite my request to keep things polite, the comments section was going to turn into something of a cesspool. So far, if I'm honest, it hasn't actually been too bad. But we're definitely grading on a curve here. It's certainly not the polite, lovely, friendly version that I'm used to from you guys. The really noticeable part of it was that none of these guys so far has actually disagreed with a single thing that I've said, or offered a counterpoint to a single one of my observations or analyses. All they've done is imply or outright state that I'm unattractive. Now, I'm old enough and I have a big enough ego that I can deal with that. That's not a problem. But it's a pretty clear sign that they're not actually engaging with what I've said. They're trying to attack me based on the only thing that they think matters: my sexual attractiveness to men. They don't see me as an equal person with thoughts and opinions that they need to engage with. They see me and every other woman as a sexual object to be evaluated on the basis of how sexually pleasing we are to them. Now, your guy might seem to take your thoughts and feelings seriously, but if he responds to other women's experiences by talking about their appearance, it's really not a great sign. It probably means that he's got some deep-rooted misogyny going on. This might not be a problem for you at first. After all, he's taking you seriously. It might even make you feel slightly special, because he treats you better than he does other women. That must mean that he sees you as better or more important than other women, right? Sadly not. Often, he's only hiding his misogyny because there's something he wants from you. In this case, a relationship. And if we're being entirely blunt, probably mostly sex. The test will come when you guys have an argument. Does he still listen to your opinions? Or does he start to throw insults and hurtful comments towards you? His deep-rooted misogyny means that he might never see your views as completely equal to his, at least not without some really major changes in his attitudes and beliefs. Now, the second sign that he's a hidden misogynist is that he values sexual purity specifically in women. Now, I fully appreciate that some people have religious reasons for valuing sexual purity. Personally, I don't share those values. I think sex can be a wonderfully affectionate, fun, recreational activity between two consenting adults, irrespective of their marital status. But I have every respect for someone who makes a different decision, especially if it's based on their faith. Where it becomes a sign of misogyny is when sexual purity is only valued in women. This is the slut-stud double standard. A guy who has sex with a lot of women is seen as a stud, while a woman who does the same is a slut. And he means that in a pejorative sense, rather than the empowered sex-positive way that some of the rest of us might use it. When a guy thinks that women who have sex with different people are sluts, he's telling you that he doesn't actually respect a woman's sexual agency. He sees sex as something men want and women are supposed to withhold. He doesn't think that your sexuality is as valid or as important as his. Now, this is pretty slimy at the best of times. The idea that a guy might think there's something wrong or dirty about your sexual choices is just insulting. In a guy that you're dating, it's also a sign that he's really unlikely to be good in bed. With such rigid views about sex and sexuality, how is he going to respond if you express your sexual needs and desires and preferences? Is he going to put your pleasure first? The chances are that he's not. If you know that he shames other women for pursuing their sexual pleasure, how are you going to feel comfortable enough to share what you enjoy with him? It's also the case that this comes a little bit from him having a sense of ownership of you, your sexuality, and your body. This is quite difficult because I understand that we feel a sense of connection, and when we're with someone, we want to be part of a team, part of a partnership, part of a couple. But what happened before you got into a relationship with him has nothing whatsoever to do with him. And if he believes that he has some rights over your behavior before you even met him, that's a real problem. And if he thinks that he has rights over your body now just because you're dating him, that can be even more worrying. The third sign that he might be a secret misogynist is that he uses gendered insults about all of his exes. Misogynists see women as less than them. This means that they really don't like it when a woman stands up to them or refuses to put up with their behavior. They typically blame all of their past relationship failures on their exes being crazy, psychotic, hysterical, or a bunny boiler. Now, lots of us have some pretty awful exes. I know I do. But I wouldn't use those words to describe any of them. Terms like hysterical or bunny boiler are almost always used about women rather than men. If he feels the need to denigrate his exes, especially with terms that imply that she was overly emotional or has a mental illness, it's actually a good sign that he's a misogynist deep down. If he has a long list of what he calls crazy ex-girlfriends, there's a good chance you'll be the next name on that list in a few months' time. The fourth subtle sign that he might be a secret misogynist is that he thinks men have to achieve certain stereotypical things to get attention from women. And that doesn't match your experience at all. Misogynists will often complain about how hard it is for guys to date, especially when it comes to online dating. Now, they are not entirely wrong. Dating is really difficult for men in different ways than it is for women, but misogynists have some pretty warped ideas about why that is. They will often complain that men have to pass an almost impossible bar to get a woman's attention. They hold the belief that a guy needs to have a chiseled jaw and crazy strong arms, visible abs, a six-figure salary, and a fancy car to attract a woman. Now, for me and most of my female friends, it's not about the bar being that high. It's that they're trying to jump over completely the wrong bar. We want a guy who has great empathy, understands consent, and loves to make us smile. Nothing about their car or their abs. Okay, the abs are nice, but it's not a deciding factor. I have literally never in my life asked a guy what car he drives or his salary before agreeing to go on a date with him. And I think he'd be pretty freaked out if I did. Guys with these beliefs don't always realize that it's misogynistic. They just have a deeply ingrained belief that women are gold diggers or that we're only out for ourselves. And that's influencing how they treat us and what they expect from us. These guys have a huge chip on their shoulder, and even having a wonderful, loving girlfriend is nowhere near enough to knock that chip off. If you guys have a disagreement, he's unlikely to talk it through reasonably and with empathy. He's going to come back with some stereotypical pseudoscientific rubbish about how you're only complaining because you want to increase your biological fitness and get the best parent for your children. His views on women are so rigid that he struggles to respond to you as an individual. The final sign we're going to talk about that he might be a secret misogynist isn't actually a big secret. In fact, it's a really clear sign. If a guy describes himself as an alpha male, or subscribes to the idea that you can divide men into alphas and betas, he's a misogynist. That's just how it works. Honestly, any guy who describes himself as an alpha, firstly, isn't. A strong, confident man does not feel the need to compare himself to others or denigrate or put down other people. But it's also a sign that he subscribes to some pretty toxic ideas around what being a good man means. He's not really thinking about how he can serve others or how he can look after others or who he is as a person. He's just trying to be higher up the ladder than the next guy down. These are the signs that you might be dating a secret misogynist. The next question is what you can do about it. Not all misogynists are actively awful people. Lots of this comes from attitudes and beliefs that they could have picked up from some of the worst aspects of our culture. In fact, I would say that it's difficult for most guys to avoid picking up at least some problematic beliefs and at least some of these thought processes. If you notice some of these signs, treat it as a warning sign. Some guys will be open to talking about their beliefs and why those are a problem for you, and indeed why they're wrong. Others are so deeply invested in their beliefs that they have no interest in changing whatsoever. If your guy holds these deep-rooted misogynistic beliefs and shows no sign of being willing to examine and change those, you might want to consider getting out of your relationship before it gets too serious. Deeply misogynistic men are always bad for your self-esteem, and they're also much more likely to become physically abusive as well. So that's our video on the signs that he might be hiding some misogynistic beliefs. How does this fit with your experiences? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.